Minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and at this time I'll yield to Mr. Cummings.
Thank you very much. I want to thank the gentlelady for yielding. First of all, everyone, it's good to see you again. And as you probably are well aware, back in 1961, President John F. Kennedy was at an inaugural parade, and the Coast Guard was marching, and he looked out and said, "There's not one single black person." That was 1961. And the Coast Guard seems to have struggled with regard to diversity. I just want to know, and recently there have been a number of complaints with regard to discrimination and desperate treatment with regard to disciplinary action. As you know, a few years ago, I spoke before the Academy because we were having problems then, again, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I'm sure you're well aware, because you did the invitation, that Congressman Benny Thompson, Congressman Courtney, and I are coming up to the Academy, I think it is in November, to again address the cadets. Just two questions. Tell me, how are we doing with regard to diversity in the ranks? How are we doing with diversity with regard to faculty? And how are we doing with regard, it's not just good enough to have nice numbers. What are we doing with regard to climate? You know, as you know, I sit on the Naval Academy Board of Visitors, and I've been there for now 12 years. And we have to work hard at diversity, but also at climate. And the other question would be, I want to know how we're doing with regard to women, because that has been a problem in the past at the Naval Academy and still is to some degree.
Congressman, good to see you this morning, and I welcome the question. Sir, I would say first and foremost, when you talk about discrimination in service, I'd like to narrow that conversation
Sure.
to the Academy. I think that was your intent, sir.
Okay.
I would say, writ large, my guiding principles that hit the street on 1 June when I became the 26th Commandant spoke very overtly to the Coast Guard's need to be more representative of the nation we serve, from the folks that you see in the Coast Guard, leading the Coast Guard. We have about 5% of our workforce is African American. That is insufficient. About 14.5%, 15% of our workforce is female. We have pockets where we're doing very well. The United States Coast Guard Academy Cadet Corps, which numbers almost 1,100, is comprised of 40% females. At some point, we turned the corner, you know, in the last decade plus, where women are in sufficient numbers there, where they are equally integrated. If that was a 60-40 split, women and men, I mean, I'm not sure where that goes, but there's a good story there. Underrepresented minorities at the Academy, we still have room to go. You know, you have my personal commitment, as is Mr. Thompson and Mr. Courtney, to support the Academy, work with the Academy. We have and continue to investigate any incidents of discrimination or racial bias up there and get after that, take action on that. We have created a task force that I get briefed on a routine basis about what we're doing up there to ensure the Academy. We talk about diversity, and that's the numbers, and you're right. Talking about the numbers, we had 18 African Americans that graduated in the class of 2018, most ever. That's a good news uptick. We had smaller numbers the year before, rivaling where we were in 1977. That's inexplicable in 2017. So we're focused on that, but it's really about inclusivity. We need the men and women of all walks of life to feel included. They need to be part of the fabric of the Academy. The numbers need to come up where we get where we were with the women, in terms of, you know, you look around and there's folks like you and they're succeeding. We need to make sure underrepresented minorities are graduating at the same percentages of their majority counterparts. In terms of writ large in the service, sir, we are underway, intending to wrap up late January or February with a women's retention study. We find retention of women trails and I don't know the percentage, but there's a trail behind their male counterparts to some degree. We are not waiting till January, February to get after that. We're trying to tease out the findings. I've created what I call a personal readiness task force and assigning full-time handful of people to start understanding these challenges and start actioning these challenges, sir. So I think there's a good news story to say we're focused on it. I welcome yours, Mr. Thompson, Mr. Courtney's, interest. I welcome the chance to bring you to the Academy to be part of the conversation that says we're serious about this, we're getting better at this. The Coast Guard does not benefit. My intent, the Coast Guard's intent to be more representative of the society we serve does not fare well when there's articles that say the Academy isn't a welcoming place to people of all backgrounds. That just sets us back, sir, and we don't have time for that. So I would love to get you up there, and I appreciate your commitment to doing that, where we can say, hey, as you say, this is our watch, and we're going to better things on our watch, and I am personally invested in that, Congressman.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask